If you don't have a massive platform or following right now, the best course you could take would be to try and find a publisher. Having a publisher behind you, it lends credibility behind people who might be reading it. It tells you that there are quote unquote experts who have read your work and have given critical feedback and have offered to kind of guide you in the process. But if you're doing nonfiction, and you don't have 100,000 followers on Instagram, securing endorsements is a really big deal in order to get your book out there and to get a name with a lot more influence than your name attached to your book. If you have a publisher behind it that has credibility, the endorsements you might be seeking are more likely to be like, oh, I know InterVarsity Press, I'm at least willing to consider reading this. However, if you're just I don't really care about the income part of it, I don't really care about getting endorsements. I want just my sphere of people to just read this. I think self-publishing is a totally valid and wonderful way to go. And we live in a moment in time where there's so much options to self-publish. You never know what's going to happen with the process. If self-publishing is the way you want to go, do it. It is better to get the work out there than to not have it out there at all.
And as a novelist, you don't need to have as big of a platform to be able to attract a traditional publisher. And so it's a little bit easier if your book is compelling. I've worked with 8 different publishers over the years. Some have been general market and some have been, I like to call it inspirational fiction. So a different range of publishers. Of course, they prefer as the years go by that you've grown your platform. However, if you have a great debut novel with a compelling theme and the editor just can't put it down, they want your next chapters and your next chapters, they're going to work hard to get that book out there. They're able to get the book easily into bookstores, to translate it into different languages. They work with publishers all over the world. They do the audiobooks and the marketing. We can now get our rights back. So if you have a publishing contract, make sure that you have an end to that and get your rights back and that you can own your books again. If not, your book is always going to be in print now because of print on demand and because of ebooks. So make sure you have a clause in there. And I've been able to then take those and put them on Amazon. They wouldn't have done well at all if they would have stayed with the traditional publisher because they weren't promoting them anymore. They were kind of going away. But because I was able to get them back and put them on with KDP Select and Kindle Unlimited pages, that's a huge thing for novelists these days. I'm speaking mostly from the fiction world. So you can do traditional. And usually these days you have to go through an agent to be able to get your book traditionally published unless you're at writers' conferences and meet the editor and they ask you to send it to them directly. You can go hybrid, which is where you pay basically to have your book published. So you work with a publisher who's a self-publisher, maybe pay you back some royalties. And then you can go completely indie. Completely independent, they're primarily putting them on Amazon. Amazon pays me once a month, which is so great. Traditional publishers pay you every 6 months. So you got to wait to get your royalties. So, I mean, you just weigh the pros and cons for both of those.